We're joined by Stephanie Tecci and Piers Ben to have a quick look through the newspapers. But wouldn't you agree, he's sort of managing it with aplomb?
Definitely. He's been quite calm, he's been quite collected, and I think that's why the public are not voting for him to do the Bush Tucker trials. Someone like Matt Hancock, you wanted to see him suffer, but I think with Nigel, he's been a good team sport, so I think that's why people are thinking, oh, actually, this is a bit of a piece of cake for him, but...
Although he did say that thing about wanting to, you know, you do the trials, you get 25%.
20, yeah.
And I think maybe that's why ITV have...
He shouldn't have said it out loud.
Yeah, no,
really.
Mike's always on. Mike's always on.
As a philosopher, what do you make of I'm a celebrity, get me out of here?
I'm not sure being a philosopher would help me, but as for being a celebrity, I think that it hasn't done Matt Hancock much good. It probably didn't do Nadine Dorries much good. I wonder whether it would do Nigel Farage much good. He's a performer. He's certainly a very confident, rather bumptious performer, and that's why he shines. And maybe that's what maybe he's missed his vacation. But
no, I think he's. I think as Janet Street Porter writes in today's Mail, he's doing very well. She doesn't think he'll win, but she thinks he'll get to the final three.
Yeah,
because he's. Why would they pay him £1.5 million allegedly to have him booted out early? No way. Steph, take us to somebody else who became famous for all the wrong reasons, and that's the former Paralympic champion Oscar Pistorius.
Yeah, he's set to walk free out of jail in January for barely serving 6.5 years for the death, the murder of his girlfriend at the time, Reva Steenkamp, who he says he thought was a burglar in their bathroom. You know, this raises a lot of issues when it comes to the sentencing of people for murder, because his sentence was increased from culpable homicide to murder, and he was set to sentence 13 years. They're releasing him because they're saying he's a first-time offender and he's got a positive support system. Now, in South Africa, I can imagine for people who've done similar crimes, they are not walking out of jail early. You can imagine her mother has been left devastated about the news. She didn't even turn up to court because she says, I just do not have the energy to face him again. And she is questioning whether he has been rehabilitated in terms of his anger issues. So when he does walk out of jail, now he cannot leave the region of Pretoria, where he'll be staying with his uncle in a luxurious house. He won't be allowed to drink, and he will have to have therapy to address his anger issues and gender-based violence. But with these cases, I just always ask myself, if it wasn't a celebrity or a sports person, they would not have their sentence reduced. So why is it because it's someone who's in the limelight, who's got a lot of money, to get away with murder?
But he did have his sentence increased initially. And what is interesting about this parole hearing is, as you say, Reva's mother, June, such strength, she doesn't actually object to this parole. Her husband, Barry, Reva's dad, he died recently. That poor mum, wife, and she's not objecting to that. I mean, do you believe in redemption, Piers?
I suppose I do, but you can believe in redemption while being very uncertain about whether people have been redeemed. We can't know it inside people's souls. I don't know what the sentence of this thing ought to be. I do recall his sentence was increased because I think the first judge was thought to be too lenient, and I think his original defence was that he thought that she was a burglar. But I take that was rejected.
It didn't fool the jury.
Right. Yes. So who knows what actually happened. But as you say, it is a bit...
it was a desperate case, wasn't it? Because, let's face it, the guy was an absolute hero until this happened. And then we found out there was a very dark side to his character. And this terrible, terrible incident. But until then, he was an absolute national hero. And an incredibly, somebody to admire. But anyway, there you go. It's very difficult for her family. And it's not that long ago. I think we all remember it so
well. And I think even if he does walk free, which he will do next month, in January, he probably will still be in a mental prison anyway. His life has forever changed from this.
Yes,
he can't
that's very true.
I still wonder, though, down the line, that there'll be an interview that he'll do.
Oh, of course.
Well, and I think he stops from doing that. There should be some sort of gag on that. I don't see it because that would inevitably mean he'd be trying to rehabilitate his character or make money writing a book. And I certainly don't think that should happen.
And he will be on parole till 2029.
2029. A lot of people would think not long enough.
Piers, what have you got for us?
Well, what I've got here is a viral video about the eco-protester Louise Harris, who's a pop star, or a wannabe pop star, who's released a track called We Tried, which officially endorsed Just Stop Oil, who retweeted her post in which she warned, this is what will happen if we don't act now. And apparently she cries a lot in the song. I haven't seen it.
It sounds dreadful.
And she went famous for crying while protesting for on the N25. What can one say? I haven't seen the...
Well, we've got a clip here, surprise, surprise.
That's no excuse.
Is this going to be a hit?
I don't want to cry. 'Cause smoke fills.
Enough.
I'm about to cry at the awfulness of
Let's
that.
all cry.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
She says she doesn't want to cry, and she's just crying non-stop in the video.
Have you ever heard of her?
No, actually, I do remember when the story came out around her last year, but no, it's just making a mockery of people who actually do make music. And
Well, it's enough to make you turn to drink.
Yeah.
Let's talk about drink.
yeah.
Because, Steph, apparently we're going to be much more sober this Christmas than ever before.
Speak for yourself, Am.
Ching, ching. But, you know, usually people are waiting till dry January to give up the booze. We are a nation who like to drink, but apparently the tide is changing in the sense where Tesco have said they've seen an increase in people buying booze-free beer and low alcohol. So I think maybe it's not going to be such a Merry Christmas. I think people are actually... Because there's always this thing where Christmas is coming, people are like, I get to drink more, I get to eat more. Everyone just feeds into that marketing narrative. But I think people are more conscious of their health. They're more conscious of how much money they've got to spend on booze this year. So it seems people
And there are
won't be...
alcohol-free alternatives which are getting better and better and better every year. Sadly, they haven't invented one for Bacardi yet. But gin drinkers say that the artificial gin, as it were, is very good.
I have tried artificial gin. I don't think it quite gives it a hit that real gin does. I mean, I don't drink myself, but I used to drink a great deal. And you know, sometimes it can be a bit sort of boring at social events if you don't drink alcohol at all. The company had better be really interesting.
You need to have something in your hand.
You have something in your hand, and also that particular buzz, that hit of drinking just enough, but before you go over the edge, it's quite nice, and it's difficult to...
Stephen says that the no-alcohol wines are getting better and better.
They are.
I wouldn't know about that either.
I was fooled by it once.
Yes?
Somebody left some low-alcohol wine in the fridge, but I thought it was real wine. I hadn't been told it wasn't real wine. And I thought, well, I probably thought it wasn't quite right, but I assumed it was alcoholic. And apparently, if people are told that they're drinking alcohol when they're not, they behave as if drunk. And if they're told they're not drinking alcohol, they are, well, I don't know what happens, actually. That'd be quite interesting.
Aren't we all fools? We really are.
But isn't the whole point of drinking to get a bit, you know, nice, a bit merry, a bit drunk? I gave up drinking for about 1.5 years, and I was drinking alcohol-free wine, and I loved it because you really can't taste the difference. But then it got to a point when I did start drinking again, I was like, this is why I drink. I want to feel a bit merry. I want to...
It's not about binge drinking for me at all. It's about relaxing, and I like the taste.
Well, it's like also the buzz. There is a buzz to it.
One of my sons gave up drinking for about 1 year because of a job that he was doing. And everybody said, oh, well done, you. How do you feel much better? He said, no, I don't feel any better at all.
Well,
but
not later.
No, the way you know whether or not you're drinking a no-alcohol wine or not is you notice everybody around you is getting drunk.
Yes.
And you start to look down on them.
Yeah, you do.
How stupid they are acting.
Unless you're fooled by the wine.
Well...
You'll act drunk without being.
Tell us, Piers, about the cost of the rise in health-related inactivity. What is that?
Yes, this is an article by the columnist Matthew Paris in the Times. It's an issue that's been touched on a certain amount in certain parts of the media about whether all this mental health talk is being talked up too much, whether people are using terms like ADHD and PTSD when they don't really have those conditions. And Matthew Paris's point is not that these conditions don't exist. He's very emphatic in the article that they do, but that since these terms have become widespread, people are... I mean, I've noticed it myself, people are saying they're suffering from mental health. Well, it's very odd. I mean, you suffer from mental illness, don't you?
A lot of people say that, don't they?
But I've got mental health seems to be a sort of trope. Or people talking about ADHD, anxiety, depression. These are real conditions. But what I think, if I had to choose to say, demarcates a mental health condition from one that looks like it, is that mental health is about capacity. If you have anxiety or depression, then you are incapacitated in some way. You can't function.
Yes.
If you're ordinarily anxious about an exam or a relationship, well, that's not nice, and you want to help people, but you're not actually incapacitated. But the line is very difficult to draw, but I think that Matthew Price is right to say we have gone into overdrive about this.
Yeah, and what is he saying about the cost? How much is it allegedly costing us?
Well, yes, he...
16 billion a year or something.
Yes.
This flood of mental health diagnoses that might not necessarily be that problematic.
He says the cost of rising health-related inactivity, he says, is 16 billion a year. Number of off work indefinitely due to ill health is now 2.6 million. It's just hard to know how to make sense of this. I mean, the pandemic, cost of living crisis, and also student debt, these probably are leading to a spike in anxiety.
And everybody reacts to life's challenges in a different way. And if people are concerned, they must talk to people. They must go to their GP.
Well, we're going to be talking quite a lot about that in the next hour, actually. But for the moment, fantastic headline makers. Thank you, Stephanie and Piers. Thank you very much indeed. Right, we've got lots more coming up for you. Obviously, this is the day when we're hoping more hostages will be released in the whole concept of the Israel-Hamas war and the truce that's taking part at the moment. We'll bring you more in just a couple of moments. You're watching Breakfast.